Hello and welcome to another tutorial. In this one we're going to be making a maths quiz game inside a Windows Form using C# programming. So let's just take a look at the app that we're going to be making. So if I just click on start here, right, so it's a very simple maths quiz game, but only with the twist that it will randomize the kind of equation that we need to do. So at the moment it's asking for what's 15 times 2, so we can say 30. Okay, click on check. And then it will say, whatever the score is. So if we got something correct, it will add it to the score. If we don't have anything correct, then it won't add anything, but it will just wait for us to get to the correct answer, and it'll tell you the correct or incorrect on the bottom label here. Right. One of the other things that I've done to this app is it will stop the user from entering a letter into this box, because this box is supposed to be only numbers. So if I press A, it tells me with the message box that please enter numbers only. When I click OK, it will delete that as well. Okay, so now I can say 11 minus 4, 7. Okay, and then obviously, as you can see, the symbol now changes. So we had a multiply, a minus, and now a plus. So 11 plus 7 is 18. We check again. So if I do something wrong, so let's say if I put random numbers in here, then it tells me on the bottom here to try again. Okay, so we're going to be making this one inside of Visual Studio. So just to get started, let's go ahead and create a new project. Okay, so in the main window, just click on create a new project here. I'm going to choose the Windows Form.NET framework, right, under the C# programming language. So click next, and then let's name this one, say Maths Quiz 01. Okay, and I'm going to put more ACT next to it, yeah. Alright, so it makes it easier for me to allocate and sort of organize the projects. So if I click create, this should create a empty project for us. Alright, so this is the empty project. Right now we don't have anything that's added to the form, so inside the properties window I'm just going to go and rename the form to Maths Quiz Game. Alright, and press enter, so that way it actually changes the title here for us. Okay, and now I'm going to add a couple of labels here. So let's go and add one label here. That's going to be for the score. So I'm going to just in the properties window, inside the text, just change that to score : 0. Okay. What we're also going to do is we're going to change the fore color of this one to red. Oh, that's gone. Okay, to red here. Oh, that's too light actually. So I'm just going to move it to something like maroon maybe. Okay, so let's add 4 labels here. So I'm just going to set this one up first, and then I'll copy and paste that over. So I'm just going to put 00 in this one. Right, so as you can see, we got 00 there, right? And because this is going to be where it shows the number, so let's try and make it like 22, so it's large enough to see. And then I'm just going to Control C, Control V again. Okay, let's keep this one here. Let's keep this one here. And then this one can go over here. All right, so these are the 4 labels that we need. So this is the first number that we're actually going to put in. So I'm just going to name this one LBL num A, like so. All right, so this one is the symbol. So LBL SYMBOL symbol, like so. So I'm just changing the name property of the label, so that way we can actually call it from the C# script. All right, this is going to be num B, so LBL for label and num B. Okay, and this one we don't really need to name this one, so this one here is going to be basically a equal sign. Okay, and in the middle here, the one that got 00 on there, we're just going to put, we can put like a plus there maybe, just for now. Right, so as you can see right now, I'm just going to add it to a little bit more, and then maybe move it down here, so we don't need like all the space around. Okay, let's put another label here for now, and this one is basically the status, right? So this one I can make it slightly bigger probably, so if I make it 12, it'll be a lot easier to see. Change the fore color to dark green for now, and then I'm just going to put down here correct. So if it's incorrect, we can change the color of this one inside the code, that's fine. right? And then lastly, we're going to need a text box. So I'm just going to move the text box to here, and then change the font to bold and to 22 as well, so it matches with his neighbors basically. Okay, so make it slightly smaller, and because at the moment the form is relatively large and we don't really need that big of a form, I'm just going to make it slightly smaller. It just needs to fit into the area that it's in. Okay, so even if I run this app now, I should be able to sort of see what it's going to look like when it runs. So you got your both numbers, the symbols, equal sign, and then I can put in anything in this box right now. Okay, that's perfect. All right, so with that being done, right now we'll just jump into the C# script. So to actually look at the script right now, we need to add one event to the text box here. So this one's going to be text changed. Okay, so inside the text changed one, we're going to say check answer. So check with a capital C and answer with a capital A, no space. Press enter on that. All right, that gets added to the C# script. Okay, actually I forgot we also need a button here. I completely forgot the button. Okay, so let's try and add the button here and make it slightly larger. I'm gonna go here and say check. Maybe change the font of this one to slightly larger so we can actually see it better. To the event of this one. Okay, let's go find the click. So I'll say check button click event, like so. So it's more obvious about what this event actually is and what it's doing. Okay, so we got the event linked to the text box, we got the event linked to the button. I think that would do really, and then we can get started on adding our variables and the logic for this game. Okay then, so before we begin, we're going to be making a separate function for this game, which is going to be private void, let's call it setup game, like so. Okay, so what this function is going to do is going to basically randomize the numbers, clear the text box, and also allow us to sort of check which syntax is going to run at this point. So it's going to randomize the syntaxes as well for us. Okay, so that's with that function added right now. We'll come back to this one in a minute. Let's go and add our global variables that we need. So I'm just going to make a space on the top here. All right, first one we're going to need is going to go call a random called rnd equals new random, right? So the rnd, I'm just naming it as a shorthand for random. Okay, and we're also going to need a string array. So an array is basically a collection of variables. So in this case, the data type is string, all right? And we're just going to call this one maths. Okay, equals to, so we just do 2 curly brackets and a semicolon in the end. Inside of there, we can determine how many items we're going to put in. So you can put in a lot of items in there. So at the moment, we only need 3. So we need add. Okay, we need another one for subtract. Okay, and we also need one for multiply. Okay, so these are the 3 so these are the 3 math formulas that we're actually going to do in this calculator game. So you're basically just going to be switching between the 3, right? And we're going to use the random number generator to randomly pick one of them as the game is running. All right, we need a integer for total and a integer for score. All right, so these are the 2 integers that we're going to need. So the total one will hold whatever the 2 numbers that we are going to be randomizing and putting it together, whether adding, subtracting, or multiplying. And then obviously the score is going to keep track of how many of those answers we got right. Okay, so inside the form1 constructor here, we're just going to run the setup function. So setup game function here, and then do the 2 brackets. So that way when the form actually loads, it's going to run the setup function. So that's the function that's here. All right, so as you can see, it's just updated the 1 reference that's been called from here. Okay, so first thing first is let's do the check answer event here. So this one here is going to stop the user from adding a text into the box, because if they add a text to the box and click the check button, then obviously that number is not going to be able to convert it to an integer, or from the letter to integer doesn't really work, so that's going to crash the game. So this way we actually create like a sort of a pseudo failsafe for this simplistic app. Okay, so let's try an if statement here. So I'm going to type in if and then do a double tap on the keyboard. Okay, so right now what we're going to do is we're going to say system.text.regular expressions, right? And then we're going to go find the regex, right? And then say is match, like so. Do 2 brackets in here. Okay, let's go find out what the name of this text box is. So is it still called text box 1? So we're just going to say txt answer, like so. So that way we, it doesn't just look like text box 1 in the code. So we're going to say is match, right, txt answer dot text, and then we need to do a comma here. So and then do a double quotation mark and 2 square brackets, right? So these are one of the keys that we don't get to use a lot. Is this one here, is the arrow pointing upwards, right? And then say 0 to 9. So what we want to do here is basically this is going to see if the text box the answer text box is containing any number. If it's not containing any number between 0 and 9, right? So if it contains any number between 0 and 9, that's fine, we're just going to leave it. But if it's not, then we're just going to do the following. Okay, so we're going to say message box show, right? And if you're wondering where this arrow is, this one here, if I zoom in a little bit, the up arrow there is actually over your number 6 on the keyboard. So if you press shift and 6, you should be able to see this symbol pop up. So that's the symbol that we're after. So if I press 6 and then that one there, okay. So it actually has a purpose in programming. All right, so and then let's say inside the message box we're going to say please enter only numbers. Okay, do exclamation mark and the semicolon to end it, and then right after that we'll say txt answer dot text equals txt answer dot text dot remove. So what we want to do is whatever was added to it, we're going to remove it. Okay, so and then say txt dot answer, oh, that's gone, dot text dot length, oh, and then say -1. Okay, so whatever gets entered in there, so if you just press one key, it will just remove the last one from there. Okay, so if you want to have a look at this one and then copy over to your code. So inside the if statement, we're using the regex class that's got a is match function in it. We're passing in the text box, and then we're passing in the condition that we want it to meet. If it doesn't meet that condition, show this message box first and then remove the letter that was entered, or remove the symbol that was entered into the box. So if I run this now, okay, so inside of this box, if I press G, so it says please enter numbers only, that gets taken away. Say 5. Now if I press L, then that will get taken away as well. And then if I say 0, that's fine. But if I press J, okay, so it's a nice way of sort of just making sure that the app should work as intended, right? So it's more of like a validation kind of thing for the text boxes, right? So let's work on the setup game function here. So let's go make some space in here. All right, so I'm going to make 2 local variables, integer variables called num_a and num_b. So I'm just going to say int num_a, right? So inside of here, num_a is going to be rnd.next. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that this number here is always greater than this number. Okay, so otherwise when you do like a minus or a something like that, you always the answer will always end up having a symbol. Now if we enter a symbol into this box, as we can imagine, it's going to throw an error because we already told it to only enter numbers, right? So to make sure that we ourselves are using the app properly, so that's why we're going to be putting a large number here and a smaller number here. Okay, So the larger number is going to be num a, so we're going to generate a random number between 10 and 20. So minimum is 10 and maximum is 20, so it's going to generate a number between those two limits. The second one is num b, so we're going to say rnd.next, right, and this one's going to be between 0 and 9. Okay, so the minimum is 0 and the maximum value is going to be 9, so that way we can always make sure that this number is always greater than this one. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll say also txt.answer.text is going to be equals to null, so we want to empty the text box. So if we do have something that's in it already from the last question, whenever this function runs, it will just empty it, so it makes it easier for the user to enter the rest of the questions that they need to answer. All right, so inside of here, let's do a switch statement. So I'm just going to type in switch and double tap on the keyboard. It will do the brackets and so on for me, right? So inside of here, what we're going to do is, what we're interested in is we need to figure out, we need to pick one of them. Okay, so we're going to use the random number generator here to pick one from the array here, and we'll do the thing based on which one is selected. Okay, so if I go here and type in maths, I'm not doing it right here. Let's do it over here. Okay, so let's type in maths here, like so. I'm going to do square brackets in there, right? Inside the square brackets, and say rnd.next, then do the two small brackets. So the array, the way the arrays are counted, they are counted from 0. So right now, add is 0, subtract is 1, and multiply is 2. So there's only 3 objects, but it counts up to 2. So we need to go from 0 to maths.length. Okay, so however long the maths is, so if you want to add some symbols to it later on, you can also do so, but at the moment I'm just leaving it to these 3. Okay, so it's going to pick one, right, directly inside the switch statement. So, and then what's that going to do is we are going to be checking if the case is any of the following. So it's a case, double quotation, say add, make sure the spelling is exactly the same as the one that you have in the array, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, and then we'll also add a break here. Okay, let's do a case for subtract. Okay, do a colon and then do a break, and then lastly let's do a case for multiply. And then do a break. So each case will need to have a break. If you don't have the break, it will show the red line, as you can see. Okay, so now let's go and do the add bit first. So let's say total is going to be equals to num a now plus num b. Okay, because that's the adding one, right? And then obviously LBL symbol, we're going to change that dot text to the plus symbol, right? We also want to assign a color to the symbol, so I say LBL symbol dot foreground, foreground equals color dot dark green. Okay, so that works. And what I'm going to do is, just to save time, I'm going to copy this part here and then go inside the subtract, make some space and paste it in there. So right now, total, instead of being num a plus num b, is going to be minus, like so. And this one is going to be minus as well. And then what we want to do is we're going to change that to a maroon color. Okay, for subtract. And then for multiply, let's go here. And so multiply is actually the asterisk symbol. Is if you hold shift and press 8 on your keyboard, right? And usually the way we learn multiplying is we go through the X. So we're just going to put an X there, so it's a lot easier for people to understand. And then we'll change that to a purple. Okay. So these are that's the if switch statement here. I'm just going to get rid of the extra spaces here, so it's easier to read. There you go. All right, so the switch statement here is going to generate a random number inside of it and then select a random item from the array, depending on which item is selected, because we only have 3 items here. So, and we have the conditions written for those items. If add is selected, it's going to add both numbers together, show the plus symbol, and then also change the color. If subtract is going to do the same thing. If multiply is going to do the same thing again. So this is the last bracket that ends the switch statement, as you can see here. So right after that, we'll just go and say lbl num_a dot text is going to be equals to num_a dot toString. Okay, so because num_a is a integer, it's not going to show directly on the label, so we have to say it's toString. So it actually converts the number to a text and then displays it onto the label. So same, going to go for num_b again. Dot text is equals to num_b dot toString. Okay, and that's pretty much going to do exactly the same thing here. Okay, so just for just to check out whether all the randomization and everything works, so inside the check button click function, I'm just going to copy this setup function. So every time I click on the button, it's just going to run the setup game function there, so we can see how it actually works. All right, so I'm just gonna I just copied that into the check button click event. I'm just going to click on start. Okay, so as you can see right now, we have got two numbers that are showing up. So you got 11 times 1, right? So right now, and also the total has been calculated already. So we can we don't have to put anything to the box because it's not going to check anything against the box yet. So if I click on check button now, it randomizes again. See, the symbol changed. Okay, the numbers change again, the symbol changed, numbers, symbols. Right, so by the looks of things, everything's working as intended. So now comes the part where we actually need to check the user entered value versus the total value that the app has calculated. Right, so let's make some space inside of this function here and then say we're going to make another local integer called int user entered, right, is going to be equals to. So what we need to do is we need to convert what was entered into the text box. So 2 int 32, right, and then inside the brackets we need to put in the txt answer dot text. So what it's going to do is it's going to find the value that was entered into this text box here, and then it's going to convert it into an integer, which then we can check against the total integer that's being used to calculate inside the switch statements. All right, so I'm going to go back here and say now we're going to say is if, right, user entered is equals to total, right? So we have a way to compare the two, right? So lbl answer, yeah, I should have actually named this one. Let's insert a label too. So let's just go here, lbl answer like so. So I'm just going to leave it to lbl answer. That should be fine. So say lbl answer like so dot text is equals to now show correct. All right, and then I will say lbl answer dot forecolor is equals to color dot green. Right, and score is going to be plus equals 1. Right, and then lbl score. Did we actually go back to change the score name as well? We did not. Right, so let's just type in here lbl score. lbl score is going to be equals to score like so, and then plus score. Okay, so once that is done, I think it's just missing the text here. All right, so once that is done, what we're going to do is obviously this is all the stuff that the app is going to do if the answers are correct, right? And once all of this is done, we still need to run the setup game function here, right? So basically what it does is like it's going to clear everything and then it'll give you a chance to re-enter another number again. Okay, so that's if this condition is correct. If it's not correct, however, what we need to do is we basically just need to copy these two here and then show that. So we're going to say incorrect, capital I please. Okay, incorrect, and then this one is going to be red. Okay, so if it's correct, it's going to show it in green, and then it's going to do the score and everything else. If it's incorrect, it's just going to say incorrect and it's going to show it in red. So it's going to wait for until the the answer is eventually correct. So now let's actually try to run this. Okay, so if I just gonna go and click on start. Okay, so right now we have got our numbers. So if I try to press Q, nothing happens. All right, it's stopping that. So 10 plus 2, 12, click on check. It says correct, and then it adds 1 to the score. So 16 plus 1, instead of saying 17, I'm just going to say 12 again. So let's see, it says incorrect. All right, let's say 15, it's still incorrect. And then say 17, it says correct, and then we move on. All right, then you got 17 times 5, it's going to be 85. Okay, and then say check, that's fine. 15 minus 6, it's going to be 9. Okay, so let's say check, that's correct as well. All right, so that's working as intended. So okay, so hopefully you had a little bit more exposure to how to design stuff in Windows Form in a rudimentary style, and how to get things sort of working and communicating with the C# programming, right? So hopefully this exercise has given you some information on how to link the events properly, how to name them and call them from the C# program, right? We'll be doing another maths quiz game in this one. So in the next one, we'll do one where the answers are shown on the screen, but only the equation is left. So you have to guess what the equation is in the maths problem. Okay, so I'll see you on the next one.